Hello everyone, welcome to Department of Chemistry, KTHM College, Nasik. So friends, in our previous lecture, we started our discussion about the introduction to green chemistry. As a part of the introduction, we studied that the environment has a 5 important sphere: atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, biosphere, and the thermosphere. Actually, 3 components are there. One is a abiotic, second is a biotic component, and third one is a energy component. The abiotic component comprises the atmosphere, lithosphere, and hydrosphere. The biotic component comprises the biosphere, and the energy component comprises the thermosphere of the environment. In our last lecture, we studied about the first sphere, that is the atmosphere. Now in this lecture, we are going to discuss about the second sphere, that is the hydrosphere. So our today's task of discussion is the hydrosphere. The hydrosphere includes all type of water resources such as ocean, seas, streams, rivers, ponds, lakes, etc. etc. So student, we know that the water plays a very vital role, very important role for the growth of living organism. Not only as a part of growth of a living organism, but the water vapor is one of the important component of the atmosphere also. The greenhouse effect of a water vapor plays an important role to maintain the global average temperature 50 into 17 degrees Celsius. We know that water has a very unique characteristic properties. The high density, that is the 1 gram per centimeter cube, is responsible to maintain the pressure. And due to this property, and in addition to many more properties, the water plays a very important role, and it becomes a major component of the biosphere also, in addition to the hydrosphere. So approximately 75% of the earth's surface is covered by water, or you can say the hydrosphere. Hydrosphere covers 75% earth surface. It covers 75% earth surface. Out of these 70% earth surface, maximum area is covered by sea and ocean. If we think about the overall water on the earth surface, approximately 97% water is supplied from ocean and seas. Only 2% is from the polar ice cap. And only 1% water is available as fresh water. This fresh water is available in the form of groundwater and surface water. Out of the total groundwater and surface water, which we call it as a fresh water, the 30% fresh water is utilized for the irrigation purpose. Out of these, the 30% is utilized for irrigation purpose. The next 50% fresh water is used for cooling purpose in a thermal power plants. Used in thermal power plants. Next to that, 12% fresh water is used in industries for various purposes, and only 70% of the available fresh water is utilized for domestic purposes. So student, mind well, out of the 100%, 97% water is from the ocean and seas, which is in the form of salty water. 2% is in the form of a polar ice cap, and only 1% is available as a fresh water in the form of groundwater and surface water. And this 1% water is utilized in this way for the various purposes. In that, majority water is used for the thermal power plants. The next priority will go to the irrigation purpose, then industrial purpose, and only 7% water is utilized for the domestic purpose. So friends, now we have to discuss about the contribution of a hydrosphere for the life of organism. You just record all this data by screenshot so that we will proceed towards our further discussion. Now the contribution of a hydrosphere to the environment. Contribution. Of a hydrosphere to the environment. Hydrosphere contributes to environment in a number of ways. We will discuss few important ways of a contribution of hydrosphere to the environment. The first one is hydrosphere runs the hydrological cycle. It runs the hydrological cycle, that is the circulation of water. Second is hydrosphere allows the growth of aquatic plants and animals. Obviously, it allows the growth of aquatic plants and animals. Next, third one, as a part of food material, growth of the fishes. Proteinaceous food, it allows the growth of proteinaceous food, for example fishes. It allows the growth of proteinous food, for example fishes. The next one, development of a fishing industry. Obviously, overall development of fishing industry depends upon the hydrosphere. The development of fishing industries depends upon hydrosphere. The next, ocean beds is also having a special importance because these are the source of the minerals, fossil fuels, natural gases, etc. The ocean bed are the source of minerals, and fossil fuels, natural gas, etc. There are many more pollutants which gets dissolved into the water, for example, sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide. So indirectly it helps to reduce the pollution, to remove the pollutant from the atmosphere. Ocean helps to remove pollutants such as SO2, CO2 from the atmosphere. Next, it is one of the source of non-evolutionary energy. It is source of non non-conventional energy. So student, it was an account about the contributions of hydrosphere to the environment. Now, if you think about the oceans and seas, they are in contact with the atmosphere, and therefore the composition of the ocean and sea depends upon the composition of the atmosphere. So, atmosphere is in contact with sea and oceans. Hence, their composition depends upon composition of atmosphere. For example, CO2 from the atmosphere is in contact with the sea and ocean, and this CO2 gets dissolved into the ocean, and this dissolved CO2 is utilized by aquatic plants and animals. CO2 is utilized by aquatic plants and animals. The dissolved carbon dioxide maintain the pH of water around the 5.65. The CO2 maintain pH around 5.65 pH. But if the water is in contact with, but if it is in contact with calcium carbonate plus atmospheric carbon dioxide, the pH is maintained at higher level around the 8.29. So manual, if it is in contact with the CO2, the pH will be the 5.65, and in addition to CO2, if it is in contact with the calcium carbonate, the pH will increases up to the 8.29. So student, it was an account about the interaction of a CO2 with the water from the ocean and sea. You just record all these data so that we will discuss the further interactions. So student, the natural water consists of many more components such as humic acid, amine components, phenols are also present in a natural water. And these components can act as ligands to form a complexes with a certain metal present in the groundwater. If you think about the plant biomass in the water body, plant biomass, this plant biomass upon partial degradation gives a lignin. It gives lignin by partial degradation, gives lignin. This lignin upon humification. Humification is a process in which the hydroxy group and carboxyl group is added to give humus. And this humus is a non-biodegradable material. Humus is non-biodegradable material. The extraction of the humus by using a 0.4 to 0.5 normal NaOH gives the extraction of humus using 0.4 to 0.5 normal NaOH gives three important components. The first one is humine, second is fulvic acid, and third one is humic acid. The humus upon extraction gives a three important component, and these components are structurally similar, having aromatic ring and COOH group. All these are structurally similar because they all have hydroxy and COOH group. So obviously once they have a OH group, COOH group, they can form a various interaction with the organic molecules. They form various interactions with organic molecules such as hydrogen bonding, the next cation exchange, etc., etc. The pH of ocean water, due to all these interactions, the pH of ocean water is maintained at a particular level. The pH of ocean water is maintained at 8.1 plus minus 0.2, and this is due to the three important buffer actions. So which are the three important buffers? The first one obviously EH2CO3, then dash HCO3 minus, then dash CO3 2 minus. This is one of them. Second one BOH thrice minus, BOH4 minus, and the last one is the third one, silicates. So these three are the buffers which maintain the pH of ocean water at 8.1 pH. So student, you can note all these data. You just took a screenshot so that we will discuss the further concept. So friends, the important source of the natural water, or we call it as a fresh water, is the river. The important source of a fresh water is a river. The various streams, various runoffs comes together into the river, and at the end, river meet to the ocean or sea. My intention is to tell you that the water from the various streams and rivers finally goes into the ocean. During their journey, the streams and rivers collect a huge number of inorganic material, and all these inorganic material, which is collected in the form of mud, or you can say the sediment, is finally delivered or discharged into the ocean. The composition of the river is different from the ocean, or you can say from the sea. The difference is preferentially measured in terms of total dissolved solid. The total dissolved solid of the rainwater, river water, and sea water is a different one. If you go through the comparative data, it is observed that if you think the TDS, total dissolved solid, in milligram per liter, for the rainwater, it is 7.1. For the seawater, it is 118.2. And for the river water, it is 34.400 milligram per liter. So mind well, the huge difference is here between the TDS of a rainwater, TDS of the seawater, and the TDS of the river water. The total dissolved solids in the river water is at max in comparison with the seawater and rainwater. In addition to that, we can make a comparison of seawater and river water in terms of some important cations. For example, sodium, calcium, and magnesium. If we go through the percentage wise order, it is observed that in case of a river water, the maximum percentage is of Ca2 plus ion, then goes to Na plus ion, and then goes to Mg2 plus ion. And if you think about the seawater, in seawater, the maximum percentage is of Na plus, then second priority goes to the Mg2 plus, and third priority goes to the Na plus or Ka plus. So this is the variation in the percentage of these important cations present in the fresh water. So student, in this way, in this lecture, we covered the hydrosphere. One very small topic is left from the hydrosphere, that is the chemistry of groundwater, That part we will continue in our next lecture. So friends, I hope you enjoyed this session. You just see this video very clearly with full concentrations and prepare accordingly. In our next lecture, we will talk about the chemistry of groundwater. Thank you.